Okay, we'll continue. So first thing, we'll start with the buyer side. So that'll be like buyer monthly payment estimates. Maybe you want to help them with like multiple offer situations. We have some good estimates for that. So we'll start with this first calculator. And so basically how you'd get to these is the buyer tab at the bottom of the screen. Right now it's a blue house icon pretty much. And this will show a buyer for maybe a listing that they're putting an offer in, what their monthly payment would be, what actually makes up that monthly payment too. So whether that be principal and interest or insurance or taxes, it'll show them the closing costs. It'll break up which of those are fixed costs, etc. So we'll go into all of those. And so all you really need for this one to get an estimate is just a purchase price. So I'll just put in $950,000 right here. The nice part is it can handle different loan situations too. So let's say your buyer is an FHA buyer or a VA buyer, you can actually customize that. So where it says loan type, you can click that. Now you have all these different loan types. I can select FHA and done, for example. And now this will actually give me the max FHA type at the top of the screen. So just a nice little way you can customize these for different buyer clients. You can change down payment percentage. So let's say they're putting down more, but also it's nice is let's say they just have like a fixed financial amount. Like maybe they're getting $200,000 from their parents and they're using that for a down payment. I can select the dollar sign and then just put in an amount. So I'll say $200,000, for example. So you can kind of make it flexible that way. I'll put this at 20%. Interest rate will try its best to update with the market. I don't think it's daily, but I do see this change fairly frequently. But same thing, like let's say you're working with a buyer and they know their interest rate, you can obviously just change that within this app. The buyer broker fee, as we're scrolling down, this is where the new updates to this app help with that new agent compensation that all of you will be working with. So what this will allow you to do is dictate how much that buyer agent compensation fee will be and who's paying it. So you can toggle between the buyer, the seller, and both parties contributing to that. So let's say I'll say 2.5%. And maybe in this example case, I'll say it's split between the buyer agent and the seller. So I have that now within my calculator. Any seller concessions you can add. Hazard insurance will be somewhat of a default value that will be filled out for you. Taxes, same thing, that will be somewhat of a default that it'll try to find for each market, but I'll show you how you can actually get a nice estimated property tax amount for your clients. One thing to note is city transfer tax. What's nice is it does show you which cities have city transfer tax. So if you're really looking for a really accurate estimate, what I can do is click city transfer tax. I see those cities that require those. In this case, let's say I'm working in San Pedro, so that would be LA City. So I can click Los Angeles here, done. Now that city transfer tax will be attached. HOA, I can choose that, whether that be monthly amount or annual amount. And then there's that escrow fee that I was showing. So FNT Torrents. What's nice always too with this app is if you can like add an address. So let's say I'm working with a buyer and I know the property address that they're submitting an offer for. So I'll click add address right at the top left of the screen. This is helpful for buyers and sellers. You'll see where it comes into play for sellers. So once you add an address and click it in that dropdown, what it will do in terms of working with buyer monthly payment estimates is it'll generate an estimated property tax amount for your clients. So that way, when you're showing them that monthly payment estimate, they're seeing a pretty accurate representation of what they're paying each year within that monthly payment for their property taxes. So I can click done. Once I hit compute now on this, you'll see this pop up in the buyer monthly payment estimate. And that's basically what I was just saying, where it'll say, hey, we noticed that the property taxes for this property are estimated to be $7,000, but in actuality, your client is buying the property for $950,000. So it's basically saying an estimated property tax amount for your clients would be $11,000. You can hit done. That'll be now a part of the estimate. And now you have a really nice monthly payment estimate that you can show your client. I can show them the monthly payment amount. I can see out of that monthly payment how much is going towards principal and interest, how much is going towards taxes, how much is going towards insurance, and then in the bring to close amount. So I can see how much of that is the down payment, how much is that is the prepaids and fixed. I do think someone just mentioned PMI. I think that'll be in here, especially in cases where you're offering less than 20%. So then that will be included. And I believe it'll show up here, but if not, it'll for sure show up in the detailed closing costs also. Okay, quick point on the monthly payment estimate. So a couple cool features just to be aware of, like let's say I'm just at an open house. I want to share this information with someone quickly. I can hold my finger down over these two circles. it'll actually just have this nice pop-up where I can just text this to somebody straight from the app or email it. So that way now they have my cell phone, I have their cell phone or email, etc. And then kind of working now with those new buyer agent compensation rules and show you how these calculators can help you. So this would basically, in terms of that compensation, be a part of these fixed costs that you're seeing on the top right of the screen. So it's kind of that orange square. It says fixed cost for $25,000. So to show you how that impacts that with this calculator right now, it's showing the buyer broker fee is split between the buyer and seller. I can even click detailed closing costs. It's kind of towards the bottom middle of the screen above edit address. So I can click that. And actually I can go down and see all of those closing costs broken down in detail. And then if I go to the bottom, I can see where that buyer broker fee is playing in. So it's part of those other fees in the app. And then a quick note about some of these. Sometimes you might see these estimates. You can always edit some of these. So let's say I look at this and I see the notary fee for $175. Maybe I don't want to include that in my estimate. So I can actually click edit at the top right of the screen. I can go to notary fee, basically take it out of that estimate, click done. And now I can choose whether I want notary fees taken out just for this estimate or every single estimate moving forward. So I'll just say for this estimate, and now I have this new closing costs. So just to play around with that buyer agent compensation so you can see the impact. Right now, the fixed costs are looking to be around $25,000 for my buyer client. They have obviously some of the escrow fees that are fixed costs, but then they have part of that being the buyer agent compensation. So let's say I come down to to buyer agent compensation, and I choose split. Maybe I want to change this to the buyer paying all of it in a certain situation. You can press done. Now I'll see those fixed costs went up. Now my buyer is paying all of that buyer agent compensation. And I can go to detailed closing costs once again, go to the bottom, and now I see that buyer broker fee being $23,000. I'll go back. Let me go to buyer broker fee, change it to seller. Press done. Now I see those fixed costs went down quite a bit. I can click detailed closing costs again, go down. Now there's no more buyer agent compensation fee. So just really flexible in terms of any situation you're working with the buyer. So whether the seller's paying for it, the buyer's paying for it, whether they're paying it together, I can change those for each of those estimates. Any questions so far? Everyone doing okay with these estimates, some of the features? I guess one cool little thing too that I remembered about this app is, like, let's say I created this estimate and, clients looking at this mortgage amount and they're like, hey, this is really high. How could I get this payment down to like 5,500? A nice little feature is I can click edit under that monthly payment up here. Let's say I go to 5,500, press done. It'll actually adjust this on the fly. So now you can basically show them what they need to bring in, so now they need to bring in an extra 6.27% on top of this. So just a really nice, dynamic calculator that you can work with. And then before moving forward, the nice part about this app, this is kind of a mechanic that is for every single calculator that you'll find in here is you'll have the calculator, you'll have some input, you'll put in that estimate, you'll get the results like you have here. But it always goes a step further where you can take this information and it'll create a really nice shareable template for you. So at the top right of the screen, anytime you see that, try to interact with it. It's a share button where it has a square, an arrow pointing upwards. So if I click that, this menu will appear and I can click send full report. So now this will take that information from that last page and it'll put it on a template for me. So let's see when it loads. Okay, so here's that same information. So there's that monthly payment of $5,500. The bring to close amount that we just had for that property. It'll bring in that address for me up here. The prepaid costs, a breakdown of that loan, the monthly payment info, closing costs right here. And then also if I go to page 2, I have all of those detailed closing costs. So title fees, escrow fees, and these are realistic title fees based off of Fidelity National title fees. And this is, in this case, F&T Torrance's escrow fees. Any escrow you work with, their fees would be in there. And then I have that buyer broker fee right there. So you can really see all of the breakdown. So I have another share button, so I can click that at the top right of the screen. I could text this to a client, email it to them. I can post this on Facebook, maybe as an estimate before an open house, just a really easy social media piece. So let's say I wanted this information, but maybe I don't like the look of this one. I can actually click templates at the bottom left of the screen. So when I click templates, Now I have this pop-up where I have the same information, but a different looks. So I can click any of these. It'll regenerate it for you. Some of them you can actually add property photos. So let's say you want to upload a few photos of the property for these estimates. And then another cool feature is I can change the language. So let's say I'm working with a client that speaks a different language. I can click customize at the bottom right of the screen. I can choose language. Let's say I have a client that speaks Korean, so I'll just select Korean. And then in a couple of seconds, it's going to take that estimate, translate it into Korean for me, or any of those other languages that I selected. And now I can just share that with my clients. So that's true for most of these estimates in terms of create a flyer for you. The only ones you can translate though are the buyer monthly payment estimates and seller net sheets. A lot of the other ones that I'll show you in brief, like rent versus buy estimates and whatnot, those will just be in English. But these monthly payment estimates and net sheets, these are translatable. So now I have all of this in Korean, and I can go ahead, hit that share button, text it, email it, print it, etc. Okay, so I'm going to show one cool, before we move to the seller net sheet, feature of the buyer monthly payment estimate. So in this app, when you do a buyer monthly payment estimate and seller net sheet, they have this like, I guess it's kind of random, a feature where if you like shake your phone a little bit, so like I have my phone in my hand right now, and I'm just going to shake it a little bit. So after I shake it, and if you try it yourself, it should work. And if it didn't work for you, what you can also do is make sure you have your like phone lock horizontal off. So I can turn my phone to the side and this menu will appear. So either shake your phone a little bit, turn your phone to the side. This will actually give you a super helpful calculator, in my opinion. This was something that I always struggled with myself, when I was representing buyers and it'd be like a multiple offer situation. They'd ask me like, what should we go up to, etc. And I always found that really hard to answer, but I thought this would be a really helpful calculator for those situations. So what this will help you do is show how a change in the buyer's offer price will impact their monthly payment. So you can show like whether it'll be a $20,000 increase in the purchase price. Maybe that'll be just a $120 increase in your monthly payment. So it really makes it easy for that buyer to kind of create that top end range for a multiple offer situation. And so what you can do is kind of customize these ahead of time. So it's basically asking me right now, how do I want this calculator to look for my buyer? So how it looks right now is it'll show them a range of offering a little bit under, offering a little bit over, and the increments of this are in $10,000. So I can customize whether it's showing both increasing or decreasing, or just increasing or just decreasing. And I can also change those increments so I can make them bigger or smaller. So I'm going to click the toggle or the settings toggle. It's at the bottom left of this pop-up. It looks like a little gear. So I'm going to click that. I can choose whether I want this to be 25,000, 50,000 increments right here. So I'm going to do show difference, 25,000. And I can click that toggle again at the top right. And if anyone's getting stuck on this part, let me know. Happy to go over it again. So I'll click that again, and I'm going to show just increasing. So maybe I'm going to really prepare them for a multiple offer situation where they might have to offer a lot higher than the purchase price. So now I have this calculator. It's going to show $25,000 increments in the offer itself, and then how that's going to impact their monthly payment. So what I can do is click that share button. It's at the bottom right now of this estimate. So I'll click that. Now it's going to create a nice estimate for me, which shows how offer price affects payment. So now they can see, okay, our initial offer is going to be $950,000. Let's say we have to go up to $1,050,000, basically. That'll be a $637 difference in our monthly payment. So as a buyer, that seems super helpful. I think I would have to imagine if I was in a multiple offer situation where I can maybe stomach a $300 increase in my monthly payment for a house that I really, really want to live in. And if it's going to take $1,000,000, so $50,000 over the offer price, I can do that. So then what I can do is once again share this. So let's say I'm submitting an offer for a client. I send them the offer to sign. I can send them this along with like a buyer package and text it to them, email it to them, etc. If you have appointments now with buyers where you need to really kind of negotiate things and express your value as a buyer's agent, I think this is something that might help in that process too. Okay, so let's go back. Any questions on that one? Did everyone kind of do okay with that little that calculator? There's one for the seller like that too. But so nice to know. No issues. Okay, cool.